Hello guys, RCSchim in the Hangar, thanks for joining me. Today I will do a full review of the DJI Mavic. It may not be the first review out yet. It's amazing how many reviews actually exist nowadays to only one drone. So DJI did a really great job on advertising this thing. So you might think, is it worth all the fuss about it? Is it over-advertised? Is it really any good? And today I will tell you this. I mean, to make it short, yes it is. And DJI didn't send me this for free. I bought it. I bought it at globeflight.de. Check their shop out. I like this shop. I bought the first FPV setup I ever had in 2008. So that's kind of a bit of my background. If you're new to my channel, I started FPV in 2008 when it was quite complicated, and one thing that always bothered me was that you have to have a tripod and antennas and what so forth, a ground station, and this always prevents you from flying at fast opportunities for like this sunset that you didn't expect. Okay, you should expect the sunset at evening, but most of the times you actually don't have all your gear in the trunk. What this thing enables you and what these kinds of drones enable you in the future is you have them in your backpack all the time, and if you see a nice occasion where to fly, you have the gear with you. It's kind of like compared to having a huge camera setup as a photographer, which you don't always bring with you, but you always have your phone with you, and if you learn and if you can take good photos with your phone, you have so many opportunities to take nice snapshots. So this drone is kind of like a mobile phone to me. This copter, I mean, it's beautiful. It has folding arms, you already guessed this maybe. It's a really good gimbal, a good cam. It has obstacle avoidance, it has these down-facing sonar and vision positioning systems. So this is as good as the Phantom 4, but they already released the Phantom 4 Pro, which is another step up, but it's bigger again. So Inspire is the biggest one, and Inspire 2 must be an awesome machine. But for the hobbyist, and if you just want to take really good dronies or landscape shots, this is really a nice machine. And the acronym Mavic, I think it could stand for My Aerial Video in Cinema. Mavic. I flew it now for almost a month, and I collected experience by doing so. First, it had a disconnect issue where the phone app disconnected from the remote and the image transmission stopped working, so I didn't see where I flew, but the controls were still intact. So being a problem that you don't know where a copter is, you long press return home button and it comes home to you, which worked nicely. Since this, there have been 2 firmware updates on the copter itself, which also update the remote, I guess. And there have been numerous DJI Go app updates. Yeah, as a precaution, I turn the phone into airplane mode, I kill all the apps so the memory is free, and this way I never had any disconnect issues, so don't be too afraid of this problem. I think they somehow fixed it. So definitely the biggest advantage of this copter, of this drone, is its compact size. I got the Flymore package. I will show you the contents later. It's cool for holding the drone, but I always have some backpack like this here. This is my everyday backpack, and it's a bit bulky to put this into the backpack. This nice little bag that came with the DJI Osmo Mobile is the perfect size, but you find a lot of bags in this size. It just was a nice fit because it already has the DJI logo on it. So what I have inside there is the drone and actually 3 batteries, 1 mounted and 2 spares. And I have the remote like this in the backpack. Some guys go ahead and make some foam protectors for the gimbals, and it's really that small, and that's the amazing part, which every reviewer keeps talking about. Yeah, and You just unfold everything. I will do this quick. You remove this part. Yes, you can fly with it, but yeah, it's not a good idea. You definitely have to remove this protection part and keep this because the gimbal is so flimsy. I wouldn't want to store it in my backpack. It will be damaged soon, so keep this part. Now we would be ready to fly. So that's really so fast, and this is key in this thing. And the controller is also a masterpiece. You just unfold everything, which you can get quick off. You have to learn how to mount the phone. I always hold the USB connector from the outside, put the phone in. I use a Samsung Galaxy S7, which is a good fit. If you choose a phone for this drone, you should definitely look for a very bright phone. So this setup really has a great image transmission system. Never in my experience with FPV transmission systems I flew so relaxed. It doesn't break up. I mean, I don't know how far you had to fly for video to stutter or to get artifacts. In my flights we were low to medium range. It really worked like a charm. And sometimes I even sit behind the steering wheel in my car and fly from inside the car because it's cold. And even with this I had like medium range and I had like 1 bar less. So normally it's 5 bars and then it had 4 bars. So it's really, I saw a friend flying 5 kilometers with the CE version, so it's really a decent range system. I mean, it's incredible what they packed in this toy-sized remote here. I mean, you can really only appreciate this if you started years ago with FPV and know how complicated and how big the setup had to be to get good and decent range. They just invented some future technology in here. You can pump up the live downlink to 1080p, which is, yeah, it's almost too much on such a small display. But if you run in 1080p live video mode, the recording is also limited to 1080p. So that's probably not the best idea. I leave it at 720p. It looks very, very sharp on the display. And this way you can fly 4K, 25 or 30 frames. So I can't praise this image transmission system enough. It's really astonishing. Next good topic, flight time with these tiny batteries. I mean, those are 3800 12 volt, so 3-cell batteries, but they are a bit higher voltage like normal LiPos. With those batteries you fly 20 minutes for sure. They advertise 27 minutes if you drain the battery all the way down. Under optimal conditions, 25 degrees and 25 kilometers flying straight all the time, flying very efficient. Under real life conditions I had here, which were 5 to 10 degrees Celsius, in around 500 to 800 meters above sea level, I had 20 minutes. So that's really, I mean, it doesn't sound really much compared to Phantom 4 Pro, but 20 minutes is more than you ever need. I mean, it's only if you fly like endless ranges, then of course the battery life will play against this. Most of my flight sessions I just use 2 batteries. Having 3, I have 1 spare if there's a super cool occasion. So flight time's 20 minutes. Flight time's here on the remote. Since the remote also charges your phone, just make sure your phone is fully charged. You will get 4 to 5 flights out of a charge. So that's not too much, but you can charge this in the car. You can charge this off a flight battery. Next plus point on the list, DJI Go app is really good, although I now started using the Litchi app, which is like costly 25 euros app, but it really has a lot of nice bonus functions. I mean, the DJI Go app already does a great job of writing a flight log, where you can literally have everything recorded. You can view the GPS track you flew, you can see how you moved the gimbals, how many satellites did you have, what was the speed and so forth. So really a lot of protocoling or logging going on here. The Litchi app goes one step further. I mean, first, the log file Litchi writes is not encrypted, so you can access this comma separated values log file yourself and throw it like in an Excel file and analyze it to a full extent. Or you can have it automatically upload to Healthydrones, which is a partner website of the Litchi. But these Healthydrones guys, they do like analyze everything you can imagine. You could even calculate the winds you flew in based on the angle you flew and how fast. It's amazing. For the advanced features, they want some amount of money for you, but I'm totally okay with the free version. I think it's limited to 100 flights it stores for you, but 100 flights is okay. And of course, those log files help you in case you really crashed somewhere out far. It will show you the last GPS position. It will show you the reason. Thing about starting and landing this copter. I mean, one disadvantage of it being so small is that it has really low profile. So in the front you have some clearance, but for the rear props you don't have more than 3 or 4 centimeters of clearance, so you can start it off a field. You have to start it off concrete or tarmac. It's not a good idea to start it off a dust road because it will blow up all the dust and get it inside. So I didn't start it out of my hand actually, but I saw guys doing this. It should be fairly easy. But almost each time I catch it for a landing. And you have enough clearance not to cut open your fingers if you grab it where the battery release system is. So if you grab it like this, you just have to throttle down to 0 and wait for like 10 seconds. It will increase throttle because it wants to get free, it thinks it's stuck, but it will then stop the motors, and I think that's the best way to land it. Another nice point about this thing is it doesn't draw a lot of attention from other people, so the chance of being asked to leave somewhere because you fly your drone there is quite minimal because Stealthy. Maybe it's the reason they painted it in this gray instead of white, so it doesn't have a lot of attention. That being said, of course, if you fly somewhere, if you have the chance to ask the people, ask the farmers if you fly over their property, try not to fly over areas where you shouldn't fly. I mean, I know it's tempting, but just stay safe and you probably won't get into much trouble. Downsides of this copter, I mean, there are only a few points. The first point I already told you was the disconnect issue that I only had once. The gimbal being so fragile, so I think on a crash it's very easy to tear it out and destroy your copter from this perspective. Another downside I found is the obstacle avoidance. If I fly against the sun and the sunlight produces flares in the lens, this thing thinks this is an obstacle to avoid. As I flew against the fog, it thought that's an obstacle. You slide into sport mode, which disables the obstacle avoidance, and in sport mode you fly faster and you fly without those protection and you can fly into stuff easily. But so you can fly also into the direct sunlight. Another thing to consider, I mean, it's not really a downside, but this thing in GPS, in normal GPS mode, it flies 35 kilometers per hour. This might be a bit slow, but you can speed it up in post-production, which really looks nice, and you don't even have to software stabilize this. But if you fly in windy conditions, and if this is past 35 kilometers per hour, you actually get blown away. I had this once. I wasn't far away from me, but I ascended like 100 meters. And then I was really blown away, literally. And once again, the sport mode is your only chance to get out of this. Put the slider in sport mode, you can fly 65 kilometers, and this would be a hell of a lot of wind. It's not a good idea to fly in that high winds. Also, one disadvantage that I saw on some shots, mainly if I flew faster or if I descended had a lower throttle value, the gimbal shook. So there are certain moments in flying, if you get a gust, for example, where this tiny little gimbal shakes, and you will have that on your footage and will have to cut this out. So Gimbal Judder, it happens, but not too often. At the moment there is no FPV goggles support, no direct. I mean, they will announce the DJI goggles hopefully quite soon. And the DJI goggles, as I understood it, they don't have an HDMI cable that goes into the remote, have their own receiver for the OcuSync image transmission. So I think this is for minimum latency. But the other thing you can do, I mean, you can't use Fat Sharks or any HDMI based goggles, but you can use these Google Cardboard clones, and I think there are so many different just smartphone cages out there. You have your phone in the front, and your phone will have to support displaying two separate image screens, and then the two lenses here will help you adjust your eyes to see one and the other screen. And the normal DJI Go app wouldn't support this because you just see the whole screen. And with the DJI Go app there is a VR mode, and it just splits the live feed into two screens and applies some basic OSD informations. Kind of nice FPV goggles. I tried it only on the ground. It looks nice. Quality wise, I mean, those plastic goggles are not that good. Don't get the Samsung Gear VR because they use the USB port. But I will link you a few. I think Drone Valley, hi Rick. Drone Valley already showed some nice goggles, and he made a good point. Make sure that the closing mechanism, it's best if they have some magnets in front, because you will have, for normal operation, you will have to use your phone. You will have to use your phone like this, make settings, and then close it and fly. And the last downside of this copter that I recently found out, because Andy RC tested it, hi Andy, 1080p 60 footage seems to look awful. I have to confess I didn't test it yet because I don't see much point in 1080p 60 on a stabilized copter. But it looks terrible, it looks like aliasing and step effects. Just not very beautiful. 1080p 30, however, looks fine. So it must just be something, maybe they change it in the firmware update or so. But that being said, with the gimbal copter, I think it's totally fine to fly in up to 4K, 25, even 25 frames look very smooth on this copter because you fly so slow and have so steady shots. One thing though, if you tilt too fast or if you pan too fast, this will not look good. So don't recommend to use panning a lot. Just leave it out. Only if you follow subjects maybe. And tilting, really set up the gimbal to move slowly and get used to it. Practice this. You do this with this slider here, and this slider is not absolute position gimbal, but it's relative. It's the more you move away from the center, the faster the gimbal moves. So you really just move it 1 or 2 millimeters, it's enough. And if you want to stop the gimbal, don't stop it immediately, this would look crappy. Go down smoothly and come to a halt. Buy the normal package or the Flymore. I definitely recommend the Flymore package because I don't think that any Mavic owner will be happy with just one battery. So you get at least one additional battery. Those are, I think, $100 or $80. They are costly. So I did the math and thought if I get 2 batteries, this will be $200 extra. And the Flymore package is like $250 extra. For this extra price, you don't only get the batteries, you get this charging hub, and you have the possibility to, and then this thing will charge up to 4 batteries in series. That means 1 by 1. You get spare props, of course, nice little power bank adapter. So what this means, you connect it to one of your flight batteries, and you can charge 2 USB devices. This could be your remote, or your phone, yeah, or whatever you need to be charged. And you also get this car charger. This actually charges faster than the normal wall charger. And you get this nice bag. As I said, I use the Osmo Mobile bag because it's even smaller. But this is a cool thing to hold all the accessories. It has these side bags here. It has a strap, a shoulder strap. It has a compartment up there for small parts. The drone fits in there really nicely. The way it works best for me is with the gimbal down, of course with protection. If you have it like this in a 45-degree way, I don't think that the gimbals need more extra protection. If you look like this, they are almost freely. So remote is well placed in there. So that's it. I mean, in the summertime you would get away with throwing the extra batteries in the side bags here. I wouldn't do this in winter because if this is outside, the batteries are way too cold and lipos just shouldn't be cold. I think I didn't show you the charger already. So this is the part that either connects directly to one battery or to this charging hub here. So mostly I have it this way. 2 USB plugs charge your Mavic remote and your phone with this thing, and charge 4 batteries. Of course, if you have 2 USB things here and 4 batteries, it will slow down the whole charging process. If I were a really professional filming guy, I would probably consider the Phantom 4 Pro or even the Inspire 2. If you have that cash and if you make this as a company, I think the Inspire 2 is the best thing at the moment. But yeah, as a hobbyist, the Mavic for really nice scenery shots. Okay, so thanks for watching. Bye.